From the moment we're born, we're told that all the power is outside of us, from God to everything else. That we don't hold God energy, that God is some mystical man in the sky, and that we aren't in charge of ourselves. Our authority around us is. And then you go to school and you have all these teachers telling you what to do and who to be and how to act. And it's like everything is just outside of you. This is the world that we live in. And then you go to work and you have a boss and you're not, when are you actually you? The world is literally, it's operating in a way right now where it is designed to put the power out there. That's the biggest lie we've ever been told, is that the power lies outside of us. The power is within.
Today's guest is Kashani, SSD MBA, is known as the spiritual surgeon, helping women identify and heal their wounds and embody their authentic power using a combination of intuitive coaching and spiritual psychology. She has a doctorate in spirituality and has been nominated 4 times for her work by the Los Angeles Business Journal. She's also an international speaker. Welcome, Cam.
Thank you so much, Anita, for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Yeah, I just love the title, Spiritual Surgeon, but I'll ask you more about that in a moment.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
So, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
The most courageous thing I have done is consistently chosen to heal instead of staying in a state of victimhood. I've had a lot of my fair share of trauma, so to say, and my fair share of dark projections and dealing with various demons and whatnot in this life. And I have never wanted their energy to last on me. I have always consciously decided to heal and to move forward and to transmute all the pain into power.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Very big one.
Yeah.
Wow. And it takes a lot of courage to do something like that.
It takes a lot of courage because it's not only that you have to face the demons that you have dealt with, but it's also you need to face yourself.
Yeah.
When you're doing work to clear trauma, when you're doing work to transmute trauma, when you're really allowing yourself to heal and doing that deep, deep inner work, the most confronting aspect is actually yourself. Every single one of us, we have an ego. We are in this realm on planet Earth to experience duality. And duality, and a big aspect of it is this ego that we all have. And there's the positive ego and the negative ego, right? And the negative ego is something that can take people to really, really dark places if you don't actively work on it. So while I've been doing the work for 12 or 13 years, and there were moments, yes, it was difficult to heal the actual traumas that I experienced where it wasn't my fault, so to say. But it was also, like I said, really, really difficult to just fully see what was inside of me that attracted these experiences. What energy was I walking around with? Was I walking around in unworthiness, not feeling like I was deserving of good things? Was I walking around in a darker energy of I'm not enough? And so therefore attracting various people that will, project that experience onto me. So it's not an easy path to heal, but it is absolutely the most worth it.
Absolutely. I can't imagine. I really can't, because that's a lot of deep work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that said, what took you on your journey of being the spiritual surgeon? How did that come about? And I love that title.
Thank you. That was actually said to me by a client. She was like, wow, the work you do, you're like a spiritual surgeon. I'm like, that's brilliant. You got that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't always think that this was the route that I was going to go down. I mean, growing up, I never saw myself doing this. Growing up, I encountered a lot of bullying. I grew up as the foreign kid and as the fat kid. I got a lot of, just a lot of darkness projected onto me, a lot of bullying. And
Mm.
again, that was a projection of my own self-worth coming at me. Even as a child, getting bullied is literally a projection of what is going on inside of you because you're attracting that energy for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, growing up, I never thought that this would be the path that I would embark on. And what brought me here was my divorce. I went through a really hard divorce over a decade ago, and I had two little babies, my twin boys. They were 1.5 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, 1.5 twin boys. And, my divorce brought up every single emotion inside of me that I had been holding down or avoiding. So
Mm.
I went through a lot of darkness in a very, very short period of time. And I remember this one particular moment where I had this choice of, am I going to continue down this dark path of drinking all the
Mm.
time, trying to avoid these feelings, trying to flush them away somehow, taking prescription medication? Am I going to continue down that path, or am I going to choose to release this and become empowered by it? And right at that moment, like within that little window of time, this seminar popped up on my radar. And I was like, oh, something in me was like, you have to do this. And I had never done any type of inner work before. I had never,
Uh-huh.
I've had therapy, but therapy is very different. It doesn't really take
Mm.
you as inward necessarily. It can, but it doesn't as often. So I signed up for this seminar, and then this cycle began where I became, in a way, addicted to the work. I hired
Mm.
a coach, I read books, I did more seminars, one after the other, and I just started having breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And I'm like, holy shit. Oh, sorry. And I realized I've been the one in my own way the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Had that epiphany of like, whoa, every experience that has been coming at me, so to say, and I was in victim for a very long time. I was in victim consciousness for a very, very long time. And
Mm.
once I started doing that work and breakthrough after breakthrough, the big breakthrough was, oh, it's been me that's been in my way the whole entire time.
Mm.
And that was such an empowering and beautiful moment to finally see I get to take full responsibility for me. I get to be the one in charge. I get to be the one that decides to stand
Mhm.
in my power, that decides to say, I will not allow this to dictate me one way or another. I
Mhm.
will be the one that decides I want to be in my body, in my power, in my truth, and I will radiate that. And so once I had that really beautiful, powerful, almost it felt at the time like a miraculous moment. Once
Imagine.
yeah. Yeah, it was a big deal at that time. And
Mm.
once I had that awareness, the intuitively I felt so strongly, I'm here to serve women.
Mm.
I'm here to remind women that they are so powerful and that the only one in their way is themselves, because that was my story. I was the quiet girl, I was the bullied girl, I was the abused girl, I was all of these different things. And instead, I decided to become the empowered woman.
Mm.
And if I could do it, anyone can.
That's so beautiful, honestly. I mean, it takes so much strength, an enormous amount of strength to actually face it
Yeah.
and deal with it head on.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And
Mm.
again, it brings up all of these feelings that we are
Mm.
conditioned to avoid. And not just conditioned to avoid, but we're almost all in a state of survival in some way or another. And to go into these deep, dark feelings, it feels like counterintuitive to that because you're like, why do I want to go into pain?
Exactly.
Right? But
Yes.
I learned along the way that a feeling fully felt lasts only 90 seconds.
Wow.
So if you really let yourself go into that darkness, into that, it feels like you're going to die.
Mm.
And it is a form of an ego death. because there is a part of your ego and your identity that does die, but you emerge so powerful, so embodied, and you feel so good. It's so worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of nicely ties into my next question, because we have these identities we put on ourselves, but we don't realize at the time we adopt all these identities. And it's so important not to allow that to become that. But naturally, we all do that. It's so important in everything we do to break that down.
Yeah.
But like in life, we just go along, oh, yeah, somebody said this to me, so I must be like that. Somebody did this, I must be that. And you just go along building it and building it and building it to actually do what you're doing, to strip it all back. Strength. Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely wow.
Yeah.
Well done, Cam.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And, just to add to what you said, I look at that as these are the limiting beliefs that we end up
Mm-hmm.
carrying with us, right? And it's like you're looking at yourself through all these lenses that are
Mm-hmm.
actually blocking your true vision, right? You're absorbing all of these things from all these people around you that you forget the truth of who you are. So the beauty of this work is it brings you back to you. Who am I actually? What is my purpose? Who am I here to serve? And to be in this energy of embodied power and embodying the divine feminine and just remembering the power of being a woman is really, really beautiful, to let go of all of that conditioning.
Absolutely, because here's the thing. I mean, healing is so paramount, but some people don't realize they need healing. And I think this is where, like you said, the ego comes in. Oh, it can't be them. It must be outside of them. Can you just talk a bit about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you use that phrase, outside of them,
Mm.
because from the moment we're born, we're told that all the power is outside of us,
Mm.
from God to everything else, that we don't hold God energy, that God is some mystical man in the sky, and that we aren't in charge of ourselves. Our authority around us is. And then you go to school and you have all these teachers telling you what to do and who to be and how to act. And it's like everything is just outside of you. This is the world that we live in. And then you go to work and you have a boss, and you're not when are you actually you?
True.
Right? The world is literally like, just it's operating in a way right now where it is designed to put the power out there.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest lie we've ever been told, is that the
Mhm.
power lies outside of us. The power is within.
Mhm.
We have God energy. We all have the energy of the creator. We come from the creator. And it's absolutely, it can be really, it's actually interesting because this can be really triggering for some people
Mhm.
to actually acknowledge, like, wait, so there isn't something outside of me making all of these bad things happen to me? It's me? Your soul, before you were incarnated onto this
Mm.
planet, your soul chose all these difficult experiences.
Mm.
Every single one of them, as horrible as they might have been.
Mhm.
Your soul decided. And I've been through my fair share of really, really dark things that, in this realm doesn't necessarily have an explanation and is definitely not fair.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it's the truth. This is how powerful we are. We are so incredibly powerful that we chose and choose every experience that comes towards us, of course, not consciously,
Mhm.
right? It's coming from a subconscious, unconscious space. It's coming from our soul. It's coming from our higher self. It's coming from all these different places. But when we actually understand that concept, which can be difficult to grasp, but if we really allow ourselves to grasp it,
Mhm.
your entire experience of life transforms. And
Wow.
it's no longer your ego running the show, right? Now you get to be in a space of awareness and you get to go
Mhm.
into the depth of what is it in me that is calling these experiences in? What is it that I need to look at inside of me that is
Mhm.
resulting in these toxic relationships, in these toxic experiences, toxic situations, in these different abusive relationships? What is it inside of me that is calling that in? And to come from that space of empowerment transforms the entire situation. It's no longer the victim mentality, right? You get to take your power back.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how can one stop the mental, physical, and emotional blocks then, Cam?
It's not easy.
Yeah, I think we've discovered that.
But it is so worth it.
Mhm.
um, my tried and true method, so to say, is a combination of three things. One, and first and foremost, would be inner child work.
Mhm.
So connecting to the little one inside. That is, we are basically little traumatized little children running around in big people's bodies.
Mhm.
That's what an adult is.
Yes.
Right? So if you do the work to connect to your little one inside, remind them that they're safe, remind them that they're loved, remind them that they're seen, remind them that no matter what, you've got their back.
Mm.
This alone changes everything. Inner child work for me was one of the most significant tools to heal some of the darkest trauma. Because it's as a child that you create all these misunderstandings and misbeliefs,
Mhm.
right? Like if a teacher yells at you, a child interprets it as I'm not good enough, I'm stupid,
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah.
something wrong with me, right? So going back to that little child that interpreted it that way and then explaining to them as an adult, actually, the teacher was just projecting onto you. The teacher was
Mm.
going through this, that. Who knows what their life was like that they had to do that to you, right? A child doesn't understand that.
Mm.
And the same with your parents. Whatever
Mhm.
your parents did to you as a child, or however they acted, or whatever that was, it was not personal. But a child takes everything personally, right? That's all it knows. A child just believes that everything is about them. They don't know any better. And going back and reparenting yourself, going back and recreating these moments in such a way that you make your inner one feel safe. And it's a process. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes discipline. But even just 3 minutes a day can be life changing. So
Wow.
that's one aspect. The other two, so the second one would be connecting to your higher self, your
Mm.
soul, connecting to that power. There's so much wisdom that can come through by connecting to that part of ourselves. And we all have access to it. It's just a matter of, again, discipline
Mhm.
and sitting and in quiet and connecting to that part of you. Again, it does take time. It took me almost a year to really connect truly to that part of me. I would get bits and pieces along the way, so little wins along the way. But there was this moment where I just got a whoo, this whole almost awakening through that
Mm.
process. So that's another aspect. And the final one is connecting to your divine feminine if you're a woman and divine masculine if you're a man.
Mhm.
The divine feminine, which is what I'll stick to since that's what I teach, the divine feminine is the most authentically empowered aspect of self and arguably the most powerful energy in existence. It is such a beautiful, powerful, I mean, she is the force of creation,
Mhm.
right? We call it
Mhm.
Mother Earth, not Father Earth. Like, the divine feminine is really, really beautiful, potent, and powerful.
Mhm.
And the reason why connecting with her is so powerful is because within her consciousness, your wounds cease to exist. Yeah, that's a big statement.
Mhm.
Literally, your wounding ceases to
Mhm.
exist in her consciousness. And you can connect to her again in meditation, just like the other two. Connect to her in meditation.
Mhm.
It has come through to me in such powerful ways. And when I feel that energy come through my body, it comes from my root chakra all the way up to my crown chakra.
Mhm.
And it's this burst of energy and power. And I'm just like, whoa, this is who I am. Not all those stories. not all those things that I've told myself, not all those things that they've told me to be. This is the power of who I am. So I
Mm,
highly, highly, highly believe in connecting to that consciousness, because it is so not just healing, but so empowering.
wow.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's brilliant. You've given us three major distinguishes there. So that's really good. So, what are the main reasons why people struggle to speak up?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few. The first one that comes forward is fear. Right?
Mm,
So, and again, this goes back to trauma. I was terrified of speaking up for a very
mhm,
long time because I had a misbelief that speaking up resulted in me getting hurt. So I had to unpack that and go back and see what was the event that led
mhm,
me to believe that, or series of events that led to me believing that, right? So this when you're afraid to speak up, it's basically a trauma response. It's a fear. Your body goes into freeze. Your body goes into freeze, right? It's really important in that moment to first bring your nervous system back to a space of calm and remind yourself you're safe in this moment. You're no longer a 5 or 6 year old who encountered certain types of traumas. And then going backwards and following that line of energy of what led me to believe that there's harm that will come to me if I speak. So that's one aspect of it, is fear. Another one is self-worth. My voice
mm,
doesn't matter, right? Like, why should I say anything? What's the point? It's not going to make a difference anyways. It's not going to make a change. It's not going to, whatever the story, whatever version of that might be the story, right?
mhm,
And again, that also comes back to unpacking it and going backwards. What made you believe that? Because that's not true. There's no
mm,
truth in any of these statements, right? None of them are actually true. They're just beliefs that we were either conditioned with or experiences that happened to us. So, again, following that line of energy, if you do this work to connect to your inner child, to your divine feminine, to your higher self, with practice, you'll get to a space where you can follow any line of energy that you feel in any moment, and it will take you back to a particular experience. It's actually
wow.
not that hard.
I think
Yeah.
the hardest bit would be the fear of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what stops people in their tracks because feeling that pain, oh no, it's not worth it. But if they could just get through that and come out the
Absolutely.
other side.
And that
Mm,
is the choice, right?
mm,
That is the choice, and that is the free will, and that is up to you. It's
mm,
up to you to decide if you will go through the discomfort and go through the fear, because on the other side of it is always glory. On the other side of it is always light. There isn't going to be anything bad on the
mm,
other side of going through fear, other than feeling uncomfortable for a little while
mm.
and other than feeling some pain. And it's important to do this with the right people. It's important to do it with a coach like myself, or with a really trained therapist, or whatever you feel called to do it with, because you don't want to re-traumatize yourself. You want to make
Yeah,
sure that you're going down a path where you're able to witness yourself, which is why inner child work is so important. You're witnessing your inner child and not going back head first into whatever the trauma was that happened to you.
that's brilliant. That goes on beautifully next to my question. Tell me more about your work and what does that involve? And like you said, you work mainly with women. So
Yes.
yeah, just tell us more about that, Cam, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So my partner and I, my business partner and I, we have a really beautiful company called Divinus Lux, and that translates to divine light.
Wow.
And our purpose is to usher women into their divine feminine, to help women remember their power. So, women who are walking around with anxiety, with self doubt, with body shame, with anything that makes them think that they're less than, right? Any energy that makes them believe that there's something wrong with them, which most women are walking around with,
Mm,
right? And that could not be further from the truth. Again, that's a lie that was fed to us from the moment we were born, that there's something wrong with you. And so the work that we do is really beautiful because it takes, we basically have a proprietary method that incorporates spiritual psychology, intuitive coaching, family constellation therapy, somatic therapy. And we put this all together to create a really beautiful, safe, sacred space for our clients so that they can begin to gently
Mm.
unpack, whatever has happened to them, and basically begin to look at themselves from the lens of divinity while also being able to go back into whatever the traumas are and reframe them. It's beautiful. And we do a
Yeah,
combination of either private coaching, group coaching. We have a women's group. We offer different ways.
absolutely sounds beautiful. And, the key points there for me were safe space gently. That's
Yes.
what you want.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
So tell me more about the wounding of the feminine as she relates to her power, because you kind of mentioned something, a bit about that earlier.
Yeah, yes, I have. And it's really, really important. It's something I
Mm.
speak about often because women just don't know who they are. And that is why I'm here.
Mhm,
So the wounding of the feminine begins from the moment we are conceived.
mhm,
From the moment we're conceived in our mother's womb, we receive her programming.
mhm,
Whatever she believed about herself, good or bad,
mhm,
comes into us. I don't know about you, but my mother had a lot of misbeliefs about herself, right? And she didn't understand her worth. She didn't understand her
mhm,
power. She had a lot of distortions as it relates to what she looked like and how she is. And you get that from your mom, then you're born. And the world conditions you and programs you with a whole other set of beliefs. You're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too short, you're too tall, you're too old, you're not enough. The answer lies outside of you, in that
mm,
cream for your face, in losing 20 pounds, in that job, in, whatever. And again, lies. These are all lies. And it was done on purpose so that women aren't in their power, because then we are controlled. Because
yes.
there is nothing more power than the power of the feminine. We are the ones connected
Mm,
to the void. We are connected to the cosmos. We birth life,
mm,
right? And we need men. I am not by any means a feminist, I'm a humanist. We need men, but women need to remember who they are in the equation.
mm.
It is literally, the world will change overnight if women remember who they are.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned over your life so far? Big question.
One of the most important lessons
Mm.
I've learned so many.
Yeah.
I would bring it back to the power of me, the power of
Mm.
who I am, the absolute power that I have, that I hold. It took me a long time of doing the inner work to get to that space. It took me a lot of unpacking and a lot of healing and a lot of releasing and a lot of breakthroughs to finally allow my power. So that's been the biggest one of all. Because now that I'm in this space, and sometimes even still, I mean, I'm human. I'm not perfect, right? Sometimes even still I forget. I have moments
Mm.
where I forget, but I bring myself back to center. I bring myself back to this core truth in my heart right here, and I remember, and that has transformed my experience of life. And offering that energy to those that I encounter and to those that I coach and whatnot is also such a beautiful thing to witness, because they begin to see that light inside themselves as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely, truly beautiful, Cam.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
So, tell me, you have given us so many tools, daily steps to anyone that wants to start trusting their own intuition. What would you say is the biggest key takeaway?
I really believe that your intuition is correlated to your level of healing trauma. As I've cleared my trauma, my channel has become so clear. Yeah. So we all get gut feelings.
Mhm.
We all feel certain things. Like you might feel a negative energy from someone, you might feel a negative
Mhm.
energy from a space or an event that you encounter. But to really be super clear in your channel is a combination of healing trauma and keeping your body and your vessel clean as
Mhm.
in regard to what you eat and what you ingest, what you allow in your body, right? As I've cleaned up my diet, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't eat processed foods. I don't eat seed oils. I don't eat certain things that I know cause inflammation. And it
Absolutely.
has yeah, and it has completely cleared this third eye, this channel, my pineal gland, the whole thing. It's cleared all of it. And I'm a conduit now. I hear all the time. I see all the time. So it's really a matter of honoring this vessel that we have, this beautiful body that we are gifted with in this life. Honoring that, clearing that, and then also doing the inner work to clear your trauma. And as you do it, you'll begin to get closer and closer to your intuition because we are all born with gifts.
Yeah.
We just don't realize it because we're drowning ourselves in really bad food.
Mhm.
And we're also living in a trauma body.
Mhm.
So it's really important to clear the trauma body and to clear the toxic energies that you have from the foods and the drinks and all of those things. And it will result in a clear channel.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you. Absolutely. That
Yeah.
same here
Yeah.
with my health.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So where can the listeners find you online? What's your website, Cam?
The website is Divinus Lux. That's DIVINUSLVX.com. And also on Instagram. My Instagram is at Cam_Kashani. So CAM_KASHANI.
Brilliant. So thank you for sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today and doing the work on yourself. By doing so, you have helped so many others and made a difference. I really want to acknowledge you for that, Cam Kashani.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's such an honor to have this conversation with you, and thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
So we are all about create the courage to be fearless here podcast. So what is your definition of courage?
Ah, my definition of courage is doing what's uncomfortable and doing what's hard. And trusting yourself and loving yourself so fiercely that you do whatever it takes to get yourself to that space of absolute radical self-love.